You're watching Capitol Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
Welcome back. Now, typically when I'm reporting here in the Capitol, I try to work around or get around the press secretaries that stand in between me and the lawmaker. But now I'm going to have one on the show for a very special occasion. It's Illinois Secretary of State, Press Secretary Henry Haupt. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Cole. I appreciate you having me on.
So I wanted to have you on today because you are officially hanging it up. You're leaving public service after quite the long career. You started working in the Illinois Secretary of State's office in 1992.
That's right, Cole. I started in May of 1992 as a summer intern, essentially to get 4 credit hours toward a master's degree.
And now back in 2023, you are officially capping off the career.
I am. I will finish my time in state government at the end of this month, which will be officially the end of Friday, the 29th of September.
So what went into the decision? What kept you here that long, and then what's making you decide to leave now?
So I've really enjoyed working for the Secretary of State's office for so many different reasons. I've discovered how impactful state government can be in terms of helping people. I really began cutting my teeth in state government on traffic safety issues, and that showed me, at least firsthand, how you can impact other people's lives. You can make the roads literally safer and prevent injuries and fatalities from happening. And from there, I just had a lot of opportunities to grow and to do new things and to ultimately serve the people of Illinois to the best of my ability. And it's been a great ride. But 31 years is a long time, and I'm excited about trying something new, a venture in the private sector. I'd like to do something with media, public advocacy, and public policy work. And I'm excited to help people again. I want to do something. Essentially, this is as simple as I can make it. I want to do good things for good people.
You said 31 years is a long time. To put that into perspective here, you were here longer in this building than Jesse White was, and he got all the attention on the campaign trail last time. What was that like to know that when newly elected Secretary of State Alexi Janulius took over, everybody was thinking, "Oh, this is the new guy," but you're still there. You're still hanging around.
Yeah, Jesse White is an icon. It was an absolute privilege to work for Secretary White for 24 years. I was lucky enough that he asked me to stay on because I was here before he took office in 1999. And we did a lot of great things under Secretary White, and he's an absolute pillar of integrity. I was privileged to also have the opportunity to work for Secretary Janulius. He also asked me to stay on, and I've had the opportunity to work with him for the first 9 months of his administration, and I admire his passion and his drive and his desire to transform this office, particularly its IT infrastructure, and I think you'll see good things coming ahead from Secretary Janulius.
How have you seen this building and the way it works change over that time? Because you've seen so many different administrations go through. You've seen so many major world-altering events happen during that time. I mean, how has this building changed?
Boy, that is such a great question. So I moved to Springfield in 1995. I actually started my career in Chicago. Moved in 1995, which is a terrific move for me, both professionally and personally. In fact, I met my wife in Springfield. And so the changes that have taken place here, just involving technology, is really pretty amazing. If you go back, I predate Blackberries, and now everyone has an iPhone. Everyone can be reached in a moment's notice. When I first started working for the Secretary of State's office, people had pagers.
And you're running around trying to find the person that you need to find rather than just calling them at that point.
That's exactly right. You'd get a little beeper and you'd look down and you'd have to find a phone to return the page. It was so, you didn't know it was inconvenient at the time and inefficient, but it certainly was considering what we have today. And there's been some big events that happened. We had a guard, Bill Wozniak, who was murdered at this Capitol, and he was shot at his duty station by a deranged man. And after that, the Capitol Police were created. And I think people forget that before that horrible, tragic occurrence happened, this Capitol was wide open for anyone to just walk in with whatever they might have on their person and in their pockets. It is a much safer place now for employees and the public to visit.
I wonder how your perspective on state government changed from before you started working to when you started working to now, because we've talked about this before, how you got into the position wasn't you weren't always, thinking, oh, I'm going to work for state government, I'm going to work at the Secretary of State's office. You said you did it for the college credit, but how did that actually transpire? How did you end up finding your place?
Yeah, so it all started with the summer internship, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention my first mentor, a woman named Marty Beluski, who was essentially my first boss. She was a former president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving Illinois. She was a very dynamic leader and took me under her wing. And it was her passion to combat drunk driving. She had been in a terrible crash herself as a young girl, hit by a drunk driver, and devoted her life to making roads safer. And that really rubbed off onto me. And it was the first, I think it was the first time I really realized in my life the impact state government could have on other people, but also, it might sound corny, that I could have in my small role at that time. And it was right around there where I realized this is something I would like to do as a career, potentially. And really, what I did for a number of years was I did a lot of programs and policy work, which I enjoyed. A lot of research, looking at other states, how we can make Illinois better, how we can make the Secretary of State's office more efficient, how we can make the roads safer. And under Jesse White, we made a lot of huge improvements. Illinois, we implemented one of the most comprehensive teen driver safety programs in the nation. In the first year after it was in effect, teen driving deaths dropped by 40%. And it was a gratifying experience for me.
You mentioned something there, the work you could do in your small section of state government. And when I talk to people who, aren't following state government as closely as we do, or the people who are watching this show do, they often, don't know the inner machinations of the entire system. Why would they? They don't know how grand of a scale this is. And how has your perception of that changed? Specifically, the number of people beyond just who's in the legislative chambers or who's in the governor's office making a building like this run?
That's an outstanding question. And from my personal vantage point, I think I developed a much better appreciation and perspective when I moved into the press office, and that would have been in 2007. I functioned as the deputy press secretary. Then in 2018, I was promoted to press secretary. And what that requires you to do is to have knowledge of every single department in the Secretary of State's office, of which there are 25. We do a lot more than just driver's licenses and ID cards. But it also required me to pay attention to what was going on in state government, beyond just the Secretary of State's office. And what I learned is people really care. The people that work in this building, the elected officials, they care. They're devoted to serving the public. And they have very challenging jobs. And I think technology, honestly, makes it more difficult for a lot of different reasons. But I guess the takeaway for me is how much people really care to do the right thing. I think, unfortunately, society focuses on when someone does the wrong thing, the bad apple. The majority of people under this dome are here for the right reasons and work hard to serve the people of Illinois. And I'm proud to have been in this building for all those years.
Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Cole. I really appreciate the time.
All right. That will do it for us on this week's episode of Capital Connection. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. For Capital Connection, I'm Cole Henke.